What are the three most superficial words in the English language? And I'll give you a hint. It's not I love you. What is it? Think about it for just a moment. On Tisha B'Av, there's an Isser of She'el Shalom. We don't say Shalom Aleichem to anybody. Mishnah Berurah says don't say Boker Tov or Erev Tov. We don't say good morning. We don't say good evening. We don't say good night. Nothing. No hellos. But if you think about it, it's very strange. Because the Gemara in Yuma tells us why the Batei Mikdash were destroyed. And the first Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of Shvichas Damim, Gili Arayos, and Avodah Zarah. Murder, inappropriate relationships, and idol worship. But the second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of Sinas Chinam. Baseless hatred. So if there's a day out of the entire year where we really should be saying hello to everybody, saying Hashem Aleichem, hey Rebbe, how you doing? Wouldn't it make sense that it's Tisha B'Av? We want to be Masakin. We want to fix the problem of Sinas Chinam. And you'd think, go say Shalom Aleichem to everybody. Say what's up to everybody. The answer is that the three most superficial words in the English language are how are you? How often do we start a conversation? Hey, how are you? Hey, how's it going? Hey, how you doing? But do we really care? We're so flippant with those words. But imagine you call up someone to ask them a certain question, say, hey, how you doing? And you're about to launch into the question that you're really calling about. And the person says, you know what? Thanks so much for asking. It's been really tough the past couple of days at work and at home, certain issues, and all of a sudden you'd be very uncomfortable. You'd feel very awkward. I wasn't really calling because I care. I wasn't really calling because I want to know how you're doing. I'm really calling to ask you the question I was going to ask you. We say those words all the time. But how often do we mean it? How often do we say, hey, how are you? And really care about that person, and we care about their well-being. Rav Meir Tversky Shlita points out that the Isser of She'el Shalom on Tisha B'Av is to be misakin Sinas Chinam. What does that mean? Sometimes we have to take a step back. Sometimes we don't say hello. Sometimes we shouldn't say how are you. And we remove ourselves from other people. Just for one day. But for that one day to think about our relationships beinam l'chavero, to think about the words we use in the context of beinam l'chavero. After all, dibur is key. Dibur is what really started all of Galus. We know Yosef spoke dibasam ra. He spoke ill of his brothers to their father, to Yaakov Avinu. And the brothers couldn't speak l'shalom. They couldn't speak to him nicely, couldn't speak about him nicely. We know the Meraglim spoke ill of Eretz Yisrael. Dibur is what sent us into Galus. But Dibur is the key to Geula as well. When we use our words properly, when we use our words not just of Torah and Tefillah, but in the context of Beinam L'Chavero, when we speak in a more meaningful, in a more sensitive fashion, when we care about others, and we say, how are you? And we show other Jews we care about them, we're showing HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we care about His children. And when we show Hashem that, when we show the Ava that we have for every single one, every single Jew in Klal Yisrael, there's no greater Nachas Ruach. And through that Avas Yisrael, that'll be the key to the ultimate Geula, the third Beis HaMikdash.